we didn't talk about it on Monday Coffee, but there's some weirdness going on with Corey Davis right now, right? He's not practicing. He hasn't practiced a lot this summer. There hasn't been a lot of like Corey Davis moments this summer.
I kind of forget he's on the Jets, to be honest with you.
Clearly Lazard and Hardman are above him on the depth chart. And that's not a surprise. The new staff came in. They agreed to go get these two guys for a reason. Like, Lazard and Hardman are going to be out there. So a lot of people, Davis is going to be the number 2. It's like, no, he's not. If he was going to be the number 2, they wouldn't have went and got Lazard and Hardman. And that doesn't even factor in whatever role Cobb's going to play on this team. So the question then kind of becomes like, are the Jets leaking something because they want to find a trade partner for Corey Davis? Because Corey Davis doesn't want to take a pay cut. I don't blame him. I don't want to take a pay cut to be wide receiver 4 or 5 here, where I'm not going to get any production and be able to get a new contract. I don't know how this plays out. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they handle wide receiver because I feel like Malik Taylor's kind of out of it at this point. It's really more of a Brownlee or Gibson conversation where do you say, look, like, you could feel like I could see I'm not advocating for this either because I want to keep as many weapons as possible, but I could see a scenario where, you get Rodgers and Hackett and Downing and the whole offensive group together, Saleh in the front office, and the thought process is like, look, like, all right, like Cobb is going to be good for like our backup veteran. Like he's okay. He doesn't need to practice. I trust him. He could come in and be a spot guy for a few reps. We have that. We don't need Corey Davis because he's redundant as that veteran backup. Let's keep the young guys. We need a returner with some juice. We don't want to risk Hardman in that role, so let's keep Gibson. And we want to keep Brownlee. We don't want to lose him. Like Rodgers, I like throwing him. He's a big body. We're going to need receivers next year, right? Davis is not going to be on the team regardless next year. Hardman's on a 1-year deal. Lazard will be here, but you don't want to let young talent walk who's pass catchers. And do the Jets talk themselves into a thing where they say, look, Cobb is the receiver 4. He's the veteran backup. And we're keeping Gibson as a returner. And we're keeping Brownlee as our like depth upside guy. Maybe not. And maybe Corey Davis ends up being a guy that gets traded at the deadline. Something feels funky here. I don't know. This not passing the smell test. Am I being like crazy conspiracy here?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's really probably one of two things, right? One, and this is by all reports, he's dealing with a personal matter, and the fact that it's gone on this long, it could be serious, and hopefully everything's okay with the guy and his family. The second being that, and there could also be two things at once, I mean, let's be real. Do we really think the Jets are paying Corey Davis his, $10.5 million this year? That never applied.
2 $10 million receivers, as Saleh said.
That never really applied a lot of logic. I think, I mean, his base salary is 10.5. That's what you'd save if you did cut him. I think that I'm sure the Jets have thought all along, because they went through this with Carl Lawson, right? Remember? And Lawson wanted to stay and took the reworked deal. I mean, I just don't see them willing to pay him that. And I think maybe on Corey Davis' side of things, he might. And this is all speculation, right? Like, let's make this very clear. This podcast is all, right now, this conversation is all speculation. Maybe Corey Davis is on the side of things like, I would go play somewhere else if it meant keeping that base salary of $10.5 million. And the Jets, it might be a little bit of a stare down. Who knows? Or it could just be his personal matter. But putting all that aside, whether, what's happening and what's not, from a football standpoint, injuries happen, so Corey Davis could be needed at some point. But when you look at the target share of this offense, right? I mean, Garrett Wilson is going to command a lot of targets because he's so good, right? You figure Tyler Conklin gets a good piece of the pie.
Yep.
Obviously, Alan Lazard and Mecole Hardman get theirs. They are going to throw to all 3 running backs. Uzama and Rucker at times, but that's a very, very small cut of the pie. Like the Corey Davis, are you really allocating over $10 million to a player that's not a huge focal point of your offense? You're right. Something is not adding up. I truly do believe them when they say they would like to keep him, but maybe it's just not working out right now. It is a weird one. It's a really weird one. I don't know. I guess we got to wait and see how this goes, but it's just it feels like he's missed so much time in August right now.
Yeah.